After I have a few ideas, that's when I open up my photo editing software and I start to play around and make these collages, and I start to paste the different elements together to see what works and what doesn't. So a great example of that here was this kind of slapdash image that I put together where I stuck in that very sink that I liked a lot. I took this possible version of floor tile I was considering and just threw that in there. I put a shiny wood toilet seat on the toilet just to see what some of these elements could look like before I actually went through and did the work. Over here I also used some effects in the software to simulate what it would look like if I had a glass panel here, because I was so tired of shower curtains, guys. I said, I am definitely putting a glass panel on my tub. So I was trying to imagine what that might look like as well. One of the other things that I do in the design software is I like to put together a preliminary color palette, which will help to guide some of the choices for products that I will make. So in this case, you can see I have this palette here with the pale yellow. And to do this, I actually just scanned one of my tiles into the computer, and that's how I got the yellow color. Black, and then the floor tile pattern I was envisioning was, again, this sort of pale yellow, a red, and then a darker red. So I did something a little bit different than the restaurant, which I'll show you in a moment. And then I was thinking that it would be nice to have some honed marble and maybe some warm cherry woods with a nice reddish finish to tie into those reds and browns. I've talked a lot about preserving details that were already there. And in a lot of the photos of the bathroom, you see that there was this yellow and black tile on the floor. Why didn't I keep it? Well, this is the thing. It's hard to tell on film, but it was really in dismal condition, which is why I suspected that the previous owners had covered it up to begin with. But also, when the contractors wanted to relay the tub and make everything level, they had to chop away a lot of the tile that was against the tub in order to get underneath it for the purposes of moving it and repositioning it. So knowing that it would be next to impossible to find replacement tile that matched, I opted instead to go over it with something that, although not original, I was hoping would help to go along with the mood that I was trying to create. In this one, I was playing with the idea of a different type of sink that I might use, because the marble one was a little bit out of my budget, but I did find this wonderful sink online. The other one I think was about $1,200, whereas the one that I ended up finding was about $300, and it had this wonderful classic look. I should have bought many of them because it was ultimately discontinued, but I was lucky enough to get one for this renovation. And I was also playing around with some different accessories and, you know, different medicine cabinets. You can see this medicine cabinet here has a detail similar to the columns that I saw in the restaurant that influenced me. I also tried to find lighting like this piece here, which would tie in some of the black porcelain elements. And again, that black, you know, for that striking effect in the palette. And then for a touch of elegance, I thought, why not throw in a chandelier? A chandelier in the bathroom, why not? And then you could see here also a marble accent that I'm going to be placing, you know, on top of the window ledge here. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the influence. And this diagram here shows what I wanted the inside of the medicine cabinet to look like. So you could see there's going to be a couple of shelves, but we have the opportunity to create this L-like shape where we have this area here which recesses behind the wall tile. It allows me to place a hairdryer, place a couple of rolls of TP, just some storage there that you wouldn't have elsewhere. And then in this part over here, this is where you would store your normal medicine cabinet stuff. So I created this diagram to show the contractors to say, I will get the front of the medicine cabinet and the door, but behind it I would like to create this custom cabinet meeting these specifications. Cool, so there you have it. That's a little bit of the design influence that's underpinning this renovation. Let's get back to it and see what progress they've made.
Day 3 in the bathroom that is being renovated. And it's been a pretty interesting day. A lot of stuff has happened here, so let's catch you up. So since last time, what we now see is that we've already moved on to the framing process. And what's happening here is that, bathrooms that were built, back in this day, in this case, 1939, there's not a lot of right angles and things are seldom square and seldom plumb. And what you're seeing now is an attempt to sort of compensate for those odd measurements to kind of straighten things out. So a good example of that would be, right here where you see this metal piece kind of just stuck on the wall. And it doesn't make sense until you follow it up with your eye and realize that it intersects with a whole network of metal that has now been placed here. And this represents the new ceiling level. And what's happened is that, all of the metal that you see here, this is all perfectly square and perfectly level, so that now when we put the walls against these sort of boundaries that we have now set, everything is going to look nice and square, except for that one header piece right there, which is crooked, and I don't know why. So anyway, you can see a couple things that we've now added in here. If I just slip behind, this is going to be kind of like the new enlarged medicine cabinet, which is great. We actually chiseled away some brick up here to kind of move that upward, and that'll give us a nice amount of storage there. And the wall is actually going to come out to here, so we have like all of this depth now to play with. So that's going to be like a really, really nice depth medicine cabinet there. It comes to about here. So we're talking like all of that distance to, store stuff. So now what else has happened? So it's kind of dark here. Let me see if I can make that a little bit lighter for you. Yeah. So now what they've done is they've sort of chopped away the floor and actually reseated the tub. So the tub is actually now correctly positioned here. The building is so old that over time the floor kind of started to slope as the building settled. And so when that happens, you get things like, as soon as you drip a little bit of water on the edge of the tub, it just kind of runs right off onto the floor, and it causes this whole puddle situation here. So that's going to be a thing of the past. Now it's pitched correctly so that the water, I believe what it's supposed to do is actually kind of flow like in this direction towards the wall. I think that's how it's done. I'll have to confirm that. Another cool thing is that we've now gone ahead and framed out the lowered ceiling here. And again, the reason for that was because we have this immovable steel beam up here. There's absolutely nothing we could do about that. So what we instead did was we lowered this part of the ceiling, which constitutes the remaining ceiling over the tub, to that same level. And that allowed us to hide this new shower light that's going in, and also an exhaust fan, which is something that you rarely see in buildings of this age. And, you can see, like, looking in the walls, there was a lot of mold problems here, and some good old-fashioned black mold that you hear so much about. And in order to solve that problem, we've added this fan now, which is going to, which means that basically, even if you don't open the window, it's going to stay nice and dry in this area of the bathroom. And what's going to happen is then we're going to put an arch over here just for decorative purposes, but also there's going to be a lip on it so that any steam that rises in the shower is going to stay in this area where it can then be pulled right into the exhaust fan. One of the other interesting things that happened today was plumbing related. And if I take you down here, yeah, see through there? That's looking right into my kitchen, actually, under the kitchen sink. Because that's actually where the emergency shutoff valves are for my water supply. Now, as the contractor was attempting to, he was attempting to rotate a section of the pipe off, the whole thing broke. And that tends to happen with older solid brass pipes. They almost get to a point where they're practically fused together, and it's very hard to unscrew them without literally breaking something. So tomorrow we're going to temporarily turn off the water supply to the building and replace all of the pipes that feed the water to both the tub and the sink with new pipe to eliminate any possible, dripping or flooding that could happen. And one other cool thing to note is that the shower niches are starting to go in. What I really want to do, as I knock everything all over the place here, is I really want to get a wider one than the one that's in there, so I'm going to try to find out if they make one that's sort of like double the width of that. But this gives you kind of a general idea. There's going to be one down here for when you're bathing. You have easy reach of things down there. And there's also going to be one up here for when you're showering. You can just kind of easily reach, and it's at standing height. So that's kind of the plan with that. And now the necessary framing adjustments have occurred, and we have the necessary support to do that.